Welcome to the official Black CEO training. The Black CEO is a group of leaders who have come together to work on collaborations intentionally, seeing how we can help the Black businesses. We are unapologetically Black businesses, and we're so very proud of it. And what is unique about the Black CEO family, I call it a family, is the commitment and the originality in wanting to make sure that all businesses thrive and prosper, teaching through the principles of collaboration. So, welcome to the fourth edition of our emotional intelligence series. Today, we're going to talk about leading with emotional intelligence. Leading with emotional intelligence. Of course, what is leading? What is leadership? One of my mentors, John Maxwell, says, everything rises and falls with leadership. Another quote of his is, leadership is influence. When you put all of this together, you agree with me that leadership is everything. And it's something that we can cultivate and grow more and more into being that leader and that individual that's designed to truly manifest who we have been created to be. So today we're going to talk about leading with emotional intelligence. But before I go into that, I'm going to remind you of the series of what we've done. This is our fourth series. There's 6 series. We have 2 more series to go. The first series is the key elements of emotional intelligence. We talked about what those are, how emotional intelligence can boost productivity, because it's all about productivity, about adding value, about impacting, paying it forward. And we talked about developing emotional intelligence. And today we're going to talk about leading with emotional intelligence. Leading with emotional intelligence, it's so important in this day and age that we deal with so many variations of diversity. There's so many unique things that we face every single day that we as leaders have to prime in our heart to ensure that we engage with emotional intelligence. And what emotional intelligence is not your IQ, it's not the accolades of men, it's not what you have in your credentials, is that innate behavior that allows you to do to others what you wish to be done to you. That's what I call emotional intelligence. And I know I shared this story with you some series ago, where this word emotional intelligence was used by one of my old manager to engage me, and I thought it was a negative thing, but I did my research, and since then it's been like the next thing to any other book that's important to me. So what am I saying this morning to us? I'm saying that leading with emotional intelligence is very important. And we've talked about how do we cultivate our emotional intelligence. Now that we have it, how do we engage? How do we lead with it? It's simple. We lead through caring about people. And I know you're thinking, you're saying, Remy, caring about people, this is workplace. This is the workspace. Why should I care about people? The reason why we need to care about people is to let people know we validate them, that we celebrate them, that we appreciate them. When people see that you care about them as an individual, as a human being, they're going to go an extra mile for you, because now you're treating them as a human being versus just versus just that thing. Of course we have goals. Of course we have things that are priority. Of course we have pressing situations as leaders. But guess what? We still need human beings to be part of this process. And anytime we're dealing with human beings, it's so important that we look at the caring piece of it. And caring piece of it does not mean that you're not going to chastise people when they do wrong and so on and so forth. It doesn't mean you're going to be an easy manager. It doesn't mean you're going to be a pushover manager. It just means that you come with that caring heart, that heart to say, you know what, I'm going to treat this person like this. You set the standards, you engage, and you disengage when you need to disengage, but you let them know what the standards are. And you care about walking and holding their hands when you have to have them incorporate that standard into their style. because you might say, you know what, I'll just fire them and get another person. Guess what? You have to retrain. How fun can it be to be retraining, churning people out and retraining? I wouldn't want to do that as a leader because that's too much investment to be wasting. So it's much easier if we learn this little tips of caring for people. And in a workplace, caring to some people might be different than the other. Caring to me when I was in corporate America was as simple as you connecting and asking, how was my family? How is your family? How was the soccer game last night with your son? That alone was important because that I really knew that you were paying attention to me as an individual. So that was good for me. For some, it might be just listening to them. And when you're listening intentionally, attentively, and letting them know that you have that undivided attention. Even you might not agree with everything they're saying. You might not even agree with everything they're saying, but listen, give them that listening ears so they know that you're listening and you're hearing them out. So when you give them feedback, even if the feedback is not exactly what they expect, because you're still a leader, you still have goals, you still have priorities. So the fact that you listen to someone, I'm not saying that it should change what you need to do, but if you intentionally listen and listen attentively to them, then they know that you've listened. Then when you listen well, you're able to reason with them. When you listen with your heart, you're able to reason with that individual. So you will be able to shape their thinking. Peradventure, they're not thinking on the same line as you. You will be in a better situation to change or to adapt their thinking to help them understand why you are thinking the way you're thinking and why what they're saying might be something that needs to wait. And when you say it needs to wait, it doesn't mean it waits indefinitely. Set a time frame to that. So that's what people are looking for in workplaces. Just simple things, not necessarily the fat race. Some people are hopping around for money, but not just that. Some people want that ability to be in a setting where you know that you have a boss who you can go to, who will be understanding. Maybe you need to work from home and explain the reason why. I gave you an example of what my son did when he had to ask his boss to work from home, trying to take a test, and he passed the test. He went back more equipped to help the company. But what if the manager had said, no way, you're coming, you have to be here? Of course, he might still pass, but he won't value what the manager did. But now that the manager was in a position to understand and say, you know what, that's okay, I bet you that manager would have really touched his heart to an extent that if he had to stay a few hours extra here and there to help the company, he's not going to be too bothered about that because he knew that when he needed them, they helped. So those are the kind of caring I'm talking about. And what I'm going to do more today is giving specific examples, because some of you have inbox. Talking about it is good, but giving specific examples so you can go and do it and know that it's not something that's hard. If you come into your office every day and you're not even saying good morning to the people there, that's wrong. You need to change that. No matter how busy you are when you get in, validate those who are there. Say good morning, then go do your work. Let them know that they matter, because they're probably waiting anxiously to say good morning to you and get to work. Then you walk in and you just slam your door. You're doing your thing, which is why you're there. We're there to work. But guess what? Anytime we work with human beings, we have to be sensitive to their emotions. That's what emotional intelligence is about. We have to be sensitive to their emotions and say, you know what? If I were that associate and my boss comes in and just goes into his or her office hurriedly and closes the door to get on a conference call, which is good, will I like that? At least maybe a smile, a wave, or a quick validation to let them know, you know what, we'll talk later kind of a thing, but not totally not saying anything. Then you give them this wandering spirit, and then you might put them in a very negative spirit at that point because they're thinking, oh, she just walked in, she didn't even acknowledge me. I've seen that done. And I've seen situations whereby when you've even greeted people, they come back and they tell you what is good about the morning. I've shared my examples. That should not stop you from doing it, because whatever you're doing, the way you do one thing is the way you do it all the time. So you have to be consistent with what you do when you're introducing that care to your everyday work space. And it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a big corporation, people are people. Human beings want to be celebrated. They also want to be validated. So celebrating people is very important. Give them a pat on the back. That shows that you care. That shows that you're noticing. Everybody wants to be noticed for one thing or the other. Of course, you're not seeking for attention every minute, but there's nothing wrong when somebody sees that you've done a good work, that they can say, oh, well done. Good job, James. Good job, John. Something like that. That makes you to know that your boss cares, that they are looking at you just beyond the numbers. Don't get gung-ho on those numbers. Those numbers never go away. They've never gone away since the 80s when I was in corporate America. Sales goals are always going to be there. Service goals are never going anywhere, because what we are doing in the space called world earth is we're buying and selling something. Either you're selling service or you're buying product. There's nothing else that we're doing. So because that will never go away, we've got to see how to embrace it in a way that we still keep our humanity, our human nature as we relate to people. We cannot let the goals of our monthly goals or our monthly expectations be a deterrent to us relating to our workers in an amicable way. Because if we do that, if we're so zeroed in on the goals, it's going to be so difficult for them to bring the best of themselves out, because now they're thinking, okay, I'm doing all of this. Remy doesn't even notice it. I'm thinking of it in my mind. Of course, I'm getting paid for my work. Don't get me wrong. Yes. But just you as a leader setting that stage in your company to let people know that they matter goes a long way. It will save you a whole lot of money from recruiting and retraining and all the good things that we have to do as leaders. So I'm sure you can understand where I'm coming from this, because with leaders comes a lot of responsibilities. And I get it. A lot of responsibilities. Some days you don't even know where to begin. So sometimes there are distractions and sometimes there are distractors. But what I'm saying to us is that despite all of these above things that I've mentioned, you as a leader, I as a leader, have to purpose in our mind that caring for people is something that we do all the time. Not sometimes, not when we feel like it. Not when we feel like it. The things I've described, we can do every day. Celebrating birthdays, maybe just having a card. When I was in corporate America, we celebrated birthdays. We had somebody who was in charge of keeping track of all our birthdays, and it was so simple. We didn't do anything big. Somebody knew that for their birthday, they're gonna get a cake. It could be a cake from Costco, which is under $50, or a cake from any, or Giant. It's nothing big, but just the thought that there's a cake coming and a card, and we pitched in. I mean, the corporation didn't pay for it because that wasn't in their budget, but we are living and cohabiting and working together. So we did a birthday list. So somebody was in charge of that, and for every birthday, you knew for at least you get a cake from your office. Sometimes you think people have it all, even when they're not at work. They might not. That might be the only birthday wishes they get. So what does it cost for each associate to do for one person? Every birthday is only once a year. Pitch in $5 and do something. You don't have to do a cake. If a cake is too much, find something you can unanimously do. Sometimes it might just be a card. You can get a card from the dollar store. You can get a card from anywhere for under $5. So with a card, everybody signs it, and you surround the card and you sing to the individual. That will make them feel real special. Even though they're at work on their birthday, some people say, I take my birthday off. When I was in corporate America, the people on my team, we made sure we came for our birthday, even if we do have a day. Because you're looking forward to something. You're going to have your teammates celebrate you for just that one day. And you knew it was going to be somebody else's turn. So such a culture is not expensive to incorporate. Such a culture is so easy to incorporate. If you can't afford the cake, if you think you're not a leader that can pay for the cake by yourself, or you want it to be a team effort and people are whining and they can't chip in $2 here and there. If you think that's too much, then that's something you need to figure out. Whatever fits your corporation, that's what you do. And the reason I'm saying that is I'm speaking to everyone. I don't know what the budget or what kind of business you do, but whatever business you do, if you're working with a team, it's so important to stop and celebrate them. So for those birthdays that we were always looking, sometimes we bring potluck and whoever feels like baking cake, cookie, whatever. But they know they're getting something special and they get to take something special home. Maybe the leftover cake they take back to their family. And when you get back to your home, your family is, oh, they gave you cake. So that makes them to say, you know what? Your employer validates it. Even though it wasn't our employer that paid for the cake, as a leader, we had that culture. We created that culture that we wanted every single person to feel celebrated. So their birthdays, that was one unanimous thing that we all had in common. We couldn't say, oh, we're celebrating just Christmas or just this, because there are other people from other religions. So our birthday was the common denominator, and we made it a big deal. We'll have a card and the cake, we'll sing, and then we'll cut the cake during a break. And then that was special, and the rest gets sent home. So that's another example. Another example of things that we can do to show that we care is just ensuring that when individuals are going through things and they bring it to our attention. I'm not saying be nosy now, leaders. I'm not saying people have to air their dirty laundry with you all the time. But if they care to come and talk to you about something private and special, be sure to follow up. If they come and say, oh, God forbid, I'm sick, or somebody in my family is not feeling well, it's something that needs to be managed over time, they're not speaking to you because they think you're the doctor. They don't expect you to heal that person. They're speaking to you, number one, if you are their co-worker and they see you every day, you're part of a family. I see myself as a part of my co-workers' family every time, because you spend more time with them than even your own family. Averagely, we spend 8 hours if we're lucky. Most leaders spend more than 8 hours, even though it's an 8-hour day. You don't leave till the work gets done. So sometimes you might be there from dark from dawn till daylight. So you want to be able to make sure that this individual that is telling you what they're telling you, that you come from a position of a leadership to say, you're thinking, how can I help this individual? How can I help? Is not just you being able to afford. You might know somebody. Let's say it's a health situation and they have something that they have a need. Most leaders are influencers. They're influencers and they are influential. So you put your thinking cap on and you see when can you come in to use your resources to recommend to this individual. It doesn't mean that they're expecting it, but if they've talked to you and you've been working together and they are saying something, oh, my child, we're thinking that my child will be going to school, they need someone to write a letter of recommendation. It's on my heart. I don't even know where to go. I really haven't mingled with a lot of people, so I really don't know who can help me. This is a big deal on me. If you're a leader and you know somebody who knows somebody, that's an opportunity to help. That is a great opportunity to help. Guess what? When you help that individual, they are never going to forget you. They are never going to forget you because you've touched them on a chord that is so significant, that's special. They knew you didn't have to do that, folks. They knew that. But because you did it, they're going to be more dependable. They're probably going to be one of your allies. They're going to be on your corner when those corporate politics are going behind you, when the backbiters are backbiting and wasting their time. They are going to be there defending you and making sure that they have your back. You have not given them a 10% raise. You have not given them a 20% raise. You have not even talked about money because they know you as a manager, as a leader, you don't have control over percentages. If it's a big corporation, it comes from above. They tell us the range is 3 to 5%, and they tell you you can only do 1% for this, So, but the individual that you've connected to and with on that level will remember you. And guess what? You also move on. We all move on. When I left corporate America, the relationship I formulated, I still have till today. And they're still so special. When I walk into any of the locations that I've worked, I feel like I'm back home. I feel like I'm back home. So you are building relationships. So the fact that you're a leader in a leadership role, it just means that your responsibilities are more. And it doesn't mean that that takes away from your human nature. Your human nature as a human being, managing lives, managing resources, should always be relevant to your everyday decision, because that's going to help you to really be that leader that people are looking up to. That even helps you to do less work. Trust me, when you are kind and consistent and people know that you care, sometimes you won't have to do as much hard work as you need to. And case in point, when we had our sales goals and drives for some corporations will have this big hula hoops sales promotion and their goals that each location have to meet and so on and so forth. One of it, I was on maternity leave and I knew that this thing I wanted to win. I had associates who were on fire pushing for the sales goals. And guess who gets to win the trip? It will be the manager and the associate, but it will be primarily the manager. They were pushing like I was there. I wasn't even in the office. I was home, being a new mom, caring for my maternity leave. And guess what? They will bring relationships. They will tell me who I needed to call. Maybe some of the regular clients who were asking after me, they would tell them that, oh, Remy is home. She just had a baby, blah, blah, blah. But we have this program going on. We're still trying to keep the banking center afloat, and we want to do this. And some of them would just do all of that and bring things home for me to sign so that nothing stopped. I was on maternity leave, and these people were holding the fort. They were doing their thing. And guess what? We won. We won that trip. We won the trip. It was to Bermuda. I remember very well. We won the trip to Bermuda. And when such things happen, when you come back, please come back with gifts for everyone within your budget, because now they have sent you forth. They have supported a vision that they knew that it wasn't even them that will benefit directly, even though they get a little cut of something, but the big deal was to the leader. But they went all out to do that. And it's because of the corporate culture that we had in that setting. Not because that I as a leader was anything special. It's because we were able to care for one another. And I can go on and on and on. And as I'm speaking, I'm sure you're thinking. So if you're listening to me, or if you will listen later and you're a leader, caring does not break the bank. Caring does not break the bank. I can tell you that. It does not have to break the bank. You can be yourself. You can be that original self. And maybe sometimes bake cookies, bring it to the office. Leave it in the lunchroom. People like to eat, you all. It's so simple. People like something. So bring something in. Break the let people feel comfortable, because we're already going to be there together for at least 8 hours or sometimes even longer. So we might as well love each other or grow to care for one another. So I've said enough on that. Caring is something that you cannot go wrong with. And we need to do it in every situation that we find ourselves, not even just as a leader, even as a follower. What you give is what you're going to get back. Your behavior is a sum total. The way you act every day is the way you act. So you start when you're a follower to do the right things. So by the time you get promoted to that leadership role, it's already inculcated in you. You already know that you're going to be part of a team and that you're going to lead a team. So you should start setting the stage to what you expect when you become that leader on that driver's seat. So I think I've given enough of caring examples. We can go on, and I'm sure you're thinking of so many things. It could be anything, as long as you know you're paying it forward, you're adding value, and you're being sincere about it. Don't fake it. Don't fake it. People don't want fake. They want real stuff. So whatever the real stuff is that you can deliver without pointing fingers and waiting for your bigger leader out of the corporate headquarters that don't even know who your teammates are to do it. Anything within your power. And I've given you examples. Celebrate the birthdays. If you can afford cake, do cards. Cards are under $5. Make sure everybody signs it and stop for 10, 15 minutes. Call the person around and sing to them and let them enjoy their day and get back to work. So think of other things that you can do and start doing it now. It will make your lives easier than you can imagine. So the next point that we're going to talk about on how to use our leadership to improve, our emotional intelligence to enhance our leadership is embracing differences. Embracing differences while you make a difference. In order to make a difference, making a difference is making an impact, doing something that's positively engaging and affecting lives, either lives that are beyond your own four walls, globally, locally. That's what embracing. You want to do that. You make that impact. But when you're making impact, you need to embrace differences. As you and I know, in this day and age, a lot of differences are right in your face. When I was in corporate America, even though I thought it was bad then in the 80s and early 90s, Black, female, Nigerian accent, those were my own differences that I had to deal with every day. And to me, those were my value proposition. I loved it. I didn't have any problems having all those 4 strikes they think and thought were strikes. Those were my value proposition. I'm female, Black, Nigerian accent. So proud of all of it. But even now, it's even greater. There's so many differences floating everywhere that you as a leader have to really be in a position to learn how to embrace. Don't let your biases, don't let your orientation alone determine how you embrace. If an employee is part of your team, they're already part of your team, you all. They're there. And if they're working and they do the good work that they are paid to do, you've got to learn, you've got to grow up and embrace their uniqueness. It doesn't matter what those uniqueness are. As a leader, as a good leader, you've got to grow up and embrace it. And how do you embrace it? Get to know them. Get to know people. You get to know people by engaging in them. Maybe have a cultural night or something that people get to talk about themselves. From there, you get to hear their uniqueness and what's special to them. That uniqueness that you see is special to them. And when you learn why it is special, then you're going to really see the beauty in that. But if you're too busy and you can't really take time to really learn who they are, all you want to learn and embrace is what they can do, that's not going to work. It might work for a few months, maybe because they joined you and they need a buck here and there to pay some bills. But guess what? They're going to be on your computer looking for other assignments, other jobs. People come to work and they're looking for jobs. That's for sure. If you are, as a leader, they see that they don't have any potential in you helping them grow because you're already stereotyping them that they're this, that, and that, and you're not thinking about the work that they're doing, then it's going to be really tough for you to be able to embrace the differences. And when you cannot embrace the differences in people, especially now that we have so many differences, people have sexual orientation, religious preference, nationality, language, you name it, the ideologies are so different than yours. But once human resources have recruited them and they land in your office, that becomes your baby. You have got to design something that will help you first understand who they are. And the only way you can understand who they are is if you get to know them, giving them the opportunity to either speak about themselves or creating opportunities to give them assignments that would allow you to know who they are, and then make it something that you give them. Let's say you see someone that is so difficult for you to connect with because they have so many unique features that you're not getting. Find a way. There's got to be something they like. Find a way to engage with them on that point of what they like. When you engage with them from that perspective, you are going to see them opening it up. They're going to be opening up with you. They're going to be feeling more comfortable. You'll be feeling more comfortable. The beauty within will start radiating. You start smelling that beauty versus what you have as a stereotypical view, like, oh, she's this, she's black, she's green, she's yellow, she's white, she's this and that. That would not be what you'll be thinking. You're going to be thinking and looking at them from the position of what can they do and how can you help them be more successful. But you first have to understand why they are different and why that difference is important to them. For instance, I'm a Nigerian American. I'm always going to be a Nigerian American. I'm so proud of that. I'm African. I'm always going to be so proud of being an African. That's something I wear with a badge of honor. It doesn't matter. That's my uniqueness, and it's the beauty within me, because that is what gave me the foundation of who I am. That's where I've been able to learn all the good things that I'm embracing in life. So I know my foundation is solid. Even though it's African, it's Nigerian American, it's Ondo City. That's beauty for me. All I can do is to be a better version of me, but I cannot forget my past. I cannot say that I will join a company and you disrespect my culture or you disrespect me just because you think I speak differently than you and you expect me to embrace you and stay in your company, even if I'm the best producer and you're paying me all the money. No, it's going to be a matter of time before I take the next ship and go, because there are so many ships out there. And if I'm already good at what I'm doing, I'm not going to just sit there, let you disrespect me because you have biases because of my uniqueness. And I'm using myself as an example because that's an obvious example. And people wonder how do you relate in places where you're a minority? I'm always minority in a majority setting. That's immaterial. What do you bring to the table? What do you bring to the table? You have to be able to know as an individual that there's something that you have that the world is waiting for. You might not have birthed it. So as a leader with emotional intelligence, that is the thought process that you will always have. That thought process of saying, you know what? This is something, there's greatness in this individual. There's greatness in this individual. I just need to figure out how to walk and let them bring their genius. And guess what? If you help them birth their greatness, if you help them be that individual that they can call their mentor, that individual who they know is always there trying to hold their hand or trying to give them that tough love. That tough love is needed, but do it in a very loving way. Constructive feedback, be that person. Those are ways that you can embrace people's differences. First, get to know who they are and then embrace them. Adopt them as your mentee or as somebody, as your accountability partner, so that you are able to be in their space. So you can say, oh, you know what, Remy, you need to slow down when you speak. You need to do this. Or you need to do more of this when you're speaking. So the feedback doesn't come from a position of hate. It comes from a position of love, because you've already extended a hand of love. You've already extended love to them by letting them know you've got to know them. So now they don't see you as a stranger. They see you as a partner in their growth journey in either their corporation or any as association that you're in. So you've got to embrace the differences. And it's tough sometimes. How do you embrace someone that's so difficult, who already have all this uniqueness, but very difficult? I understand. I get it. There are people like that. But as a leader, you never let anybody, you have control over you. So you're just going to focus on you and knowing that your mindset as a leader is not to be stereotypical about what you do, that you're going to be consistent with how you relate to everyone. When you have that standard written down and in your mind and you do it all the time, it becomes a part of you. So when you get a difficult individual who wants to prove a point and undermine you, you don't let them get to you. I told you my situation in corporate America with my stripes. Being the leader, I rose to the position of a vice president. And there's situations that people who don't look like me, even those who look like me that don't have accents, will come and they want to bamboozle me because they see that I'm different. and they want to go that mile to undermine me. My role is not to fight back, because if you do, you're going to lose your job. My role is to remind myself of who I am and why I'm who I am, and then to help them understand who I am and why whatever they have problem with is not a problem. For instance, if you say I have an accent, I'll ask you, do you need me to spell it? Do I need to slow down? Do you need me to write it? I didn't take it personal, because it could be that they couldn't hear me. I give them the benefit of the doubt. Then when I start spelling for them, they get like, oh, we can hear you, we can hear you. They get angry. They quickly tell me to hurry up. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to make sure that you can understand me, because of course I know I have an accent, yes, but I want to make sure you understand what I'm saying. Then they get it, that they're just trying to be difficult. And you're going to have associates like that. They see you in a position of authority. They're wondering, why did you even get there? How did you get there with all of this? Let them go find out from human resources. Don't worry about that. All you need to worry about is bringing the team together, embracing the differences, and the people that will bring things to you as the leader. Because when you model what you're doing to embrace what people are doing to you, your associates are watching. They are watching that. That also gets them to be in your corner, especially if you're a performing leader. If you're a performing leader and you build a system and an environment, an ecosystem where people are there and they're there and they see that you are as hardworking as a bee, that you don't leave, you're not a lazy leader that just tells people what to do, can do it. In my days, if I have to run the teller line, I'm the first one to jump there. If I have to be the customer service, I'm the first one to jump there. If I have to be a manager, I'm the first one to jump there. If I have to be a community servant, I'm the first. So you model as a leader what you can do. And they're going to watch what you're doing, and it will set the tone for your team. It won't be easy, because there will still be a few people that want to play tough, but you still have to embrace them. Because when you embrace them and find the wins, the things that they do that are good, quickly celebrate that. Continually celebrate the little wins. Continually validate the good things that they do, so that you have them in your corner. And they now get to know that, you know what? We are a team here. We've got to work together. Let me get off my horse about all this behavioral saga and all this hate that I don't even need to have. They'll come around. And when they come around, they're going to be your best ally. When I was in corporate America, I told you all, I started as a teller with an MBA. And when I was in my teller role, and they told me this after, because I didn't know what they were thinking. They had the camera mainly watching me, because of course Nigerian and all of that. So they were thinking that something will happen to their money, and eventually nothing happened. I would dress for myself, because I knew where I was going. I knew I wasn't just going to be a teller. So I would dress in my suit. So they had problems with that. They're like, oh, you dress too much for the building. So that became a sin. And I was still busy focusing on doing my work so that I can get results, because I have my MBA. I know the hard work is what the corporation is looking for. But the office politics could have distracted me if I let it get me buried. But instead, I didn't let the office politics bother me. I knew who I am, what I want to do, and I knew I was ready to work hard with everybody. So eventually, all of these people turned around and became my friends. When they go for their happy hour, they leave me out. They just go, and I'll be there alone. It didn't bother me, because I wasn't interested in that anyways. I don't drink. I don't have extra money to be doing any happy hour. I have 2 babies at home. So my salary was barely enough for me to be going out and doing everything that they were doing. So it didn't matter. But eventually they saw that despite all what they were doing, I was constantly meeting my goals, getting recognized from the corporate, my service, my sales. That was my weapon. That was my weapon. My results was my focus. I figured that you like me today, you might like me, you might not like me tomorrow. You like me tomorrow, you might not like me today. So I already knew that as a child growing up. That was how I was raised. You don't wait for the accolades of anybody, but you embrace everybody. When you embrace everyone, and you're consistently the same way and fair with everyone and respectful, that's all you need to do. Those who want to be on your team will be. Those who don't want to, you can't do anything about it. But when you're a leader, you've got to extend that extra arm of love. You've got to extend that extra arm of care. You cannot let the office politics bog you down, because people are quick to do that. And sometimes they make up the story. It looks so beautiful, and you're thinking they're on your team, and you think they're your snitch. No, when people are talking about a situation to you about someone, they're probably saying the same about you to someone else. So you've got to be able to do your best to embrace the differences of all by engaging with them directly, not through third party, what they think, what they say. Engage with them. That's how I do my thing. It doesn't matter what anybody says about anybody. I'm still going to do my engagement. And if they come around and do what they have been told, then I will still continue until they tell me to get out of their face. If they are important to my race, they're always going to be relevant. I'm never going to shut a door in anybody's face. I might need one more than the other at different times of life, which is all what we do. But we have to learn as leaders to embrace everyone, because you don't know where you're going to meet again. That's another point. They're working for you now, working with you, by you. People move around. People move from one company to the other, and they're all big companies. You might also need to move at some point. So if you have not formulated a great relationship, and they remember all your meanness and all the things that you did, or all the backbiting and the people that were pulling them down, they're not good. The minute you sit at that interview table, they're going to remember. It's going to be like a sweet smelling savor. It's a very bad smell. They're going to remember, and you are going to remember. So you never want to treat anybody less than they need to be treated. You need to be able to ensure that you embrace them. And I've said it, embracing is simple. Get to know from that individual. Take interest in talking to people and just get them to talk about themselves. As a leader, you should engage your staff to talk about themselves. Just create a conversation. Oh, how's your family? Something simple. They'll engage, and then you start figuring out this is what they like, and then you engage with them. Once you engage with them, then you can know that you've done your best. Even if they're still difficult, that should not put you in a mean situation, because you are a leader. People are watching you, not the individual that's not behaving right that you're trying to deal with. If you shell out a negative behavior when other people are watching, they won't know what that individual has done before. So embracing all and making that your mantra is so very key. The last point that I'm going to share with us is also we need to practice succession leadership. Succession leadership, that's one of the ways that we can lead with emotional intelligence. And it's all wrapped around what I've discussed. Here you are a leader. Now you're preparing someone to take your seat. You're thinking that I'm going to grow out or grow up or retire. You are intentionally building leaders around you. Finding people who you know that their success is your assignment. Doing that can take a lot of work, and it can be very simple depending on how your orientation is. If you have been practicing and using emotional intelligence in your thinking and your process, this section, succession leadership, will be a natural fit. You won't have to do anything extra that you are already doing. Now you might have to create a curriculum, a career path, or a mentorship part to say, this is what you're going to do. This is what I want you to do. You're moving from assistant vice president to vice president. You're going to be the project manager. This is what I'm doing. This is my role. This is what I'm doing. And you take them along and you teach them. You teach them, you take them along, and you talk it through. So as they're watching you, as you're having your teaching moments, they also will start seeing themselves in that role and even bigger. Because that role that you're in today, someone else can do a better job. That's always my thinking. Whatever role anybody is in, they're there because it's a design for them to be there for that purpose. But there's always someone better who can do that job. But they might have been favored to end that position. Sometimes you see in corporations, they bring an outsider to filling a role, even though they are insiders who have been growing and growing and never got it. So to me, that means that it doesn't mean that that outsider is the best that can do the work. But that's not your place to judge. When you're doing succession planning, your goal is to engage intentionally, to talk to the individual. If you have one or two people that you've picked up in your company, you ensure that you engage them. They will tell you some tricks of the company. They will tell you some do's and don'ts. So they don't have to learn it by practical experience. They can learn from you. So our goal, our role as leaders, are to build successors. That is one thing that we can do that will distinguish us. And if we are already engaging on emotional intelligence level, we would not have difficulty with this. Because as you build successors and they take your role, most likely you're doing something bigger and better. Most likely you're retiring. So somebody has to take your role anyways. So look at it from the perspective that you are building people who can do the job and do it better. It could even be your own company. It could be your own company. You might say, oh, Remy, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my company. You can be the chair of your business, have someone do the work, train them well enough that they feel comfortable to land the job. I know you're thinking, what if they take the job from me? There are things that you can put in place legally to ensure that what is yours, but that should not stop you from helping somebody succeed. Guess what? The gift that you have in you, the gift that I have in me, if we don't get it out to bless and help other people, that's going to be a waste. Even though those people will still be blessed, they will still have a lot of successes. If they are designed to be great and successful, they're going to be. So what if you allow yourself to be used as part of that storyline? How beautiful will it be? That's always my thought process. If you're in a position and you can help someone to think of ascribing to be greater and having a position, even yours, that's what you should do. Because it helps their thinking to be bigger, especially if they already see you as that person with a huge title. And now you're you're breaking it down and you're saying, James, John, you can do the same. And giving them, I don't want to say secret to the trade, but some of the things that you are doing or that got you there, sharing that, they'll begin to see themselves and say, wow, this is all. And they appreciate it. As a leader, like Dr. George Fraser would say, we begin with excellence. Excellence is not the end result. It is the beginning. When you see yourself as a leader and you begin with excellence, you're always going to see that there's room for better, that people can do more than what they are doing now. So that will make you to be quick to say, you know what? I want to build leaders who can take over, who can be positioned to grow this company, who can do other things. I want to grow leaders. That's what succession leadership is. You're really saying, I want to build people who can succeed and do more than what I'm even doing. Because by the time you share the tips with them, they're already so smart and firebrand. So you share your little old tips, they are going to blow it out and be the best. And you're going to sit there and be smiling and happy that you have allowed yourself to be used to be someone that added value to not just a life, it could be to a generation, because they now will go on and repeat what you have done for them and be your agent of good news of succession leadership. I'm watching my clock. We have talked about 3 ways that leaders can use emotional intelligence to enhance their everyday role or even their bigger picture role. We talked about caring about people, caring is sharing. We talked about examples of celebrating the wins, getting into your associate and validating who they are. We talked about embracing their differences, because that's what's so common these days. There's so many people with differences, and there's nothing wrong with it. Differences positions us for opportunities. So if we look at that from a perspective of a leader, that helps us to say, you know what, this differences just means that I have bigger market share. Let me wear that business hat again. That I have that a bigger market share now that we can go after, because the people Remy can reach out to are different than who I can reach out to, but we're still under one same umbrella. So with that, we have more market share, and that's more profitability and more results for the company. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's a win all the way. To be culturally sensitive, to also just embrace any type of differences that people might bring, as long as they are an employee of your company. You don't do the recruiting, so give the benefit of the doubt that the recruiters have done their job, which they always do. So the minute they land in your space and they've gone through the recruiting and you validated them to be in your space, give them the benefit of the doubt to embrace whatever their uniqueness is. And when the uniqueness is there, if it's one of those uniqueness that's bothersome, that's troublesome, get to know who they are. And when you get to know who they are, you will be able to get into that space, that wall that they have blocking. You will be able to get through that wall. And when you do get through that wall, you'll find out that they're just as good as gold within. But it takes a little patience. It takes a little perseverance. It takes a little persistence to be able to coach individuals who are on your team that maybe are not as cooperative as the other. But guess what? When you get through that barrier of who you see that they are on the physical without you doing the work of getting deep, you know that they are worth your investment. And when you get to do that, they will be your best allies. So what I'm saying is that embracing differences is so critical, because that helps to make that difference that we're all trying to make. Again, succession leadership, being that leader who can clearly know that, you know what, I want to train other people to take my position, to be better than me, because one day I'm going to be gone from this world, from this earth. One day I'm going to be retired. One day I'm going to be just an individual that wants to see other people thrive. Whatever your reasons are, there's enough room for expansion. When you do that, they also will replicate that to other people. Then we can make greater impact that way, versus them seeing you as just that individual that wants to be there and never leave there. And even when you're still gray and old, you're still there and you're not as energetic as you used to be. So why don't you make time to invest in other people and see them as a replacement, and a superb replacement than you? Because what you knew over so many years, now you're going to pay it forward and hand them that technique on a platter of gold. Now with their firebrand brain and genius, they're going to explode, and you will see that in your own eyes, right before you. That's the greatest joy, when you can mentor, pay it forward. You can't mentor everybody. You're not designed to mentor everybody, but there are some people who value you, who see you, who respect what you do, and they want to learn from you. When you see those people, definitely do your best. Or sometimes there are people you just like their demeanor and you want to mentor them. There are people I've gone to and I've said, I want to mentor you. I mean, that's something I've done with people. If I see what they're doing and I believe in what they are doing, and I know that they won't see it out of place for me to ask, that then I go and ask, because asking does, if they say no, that's not my loss, because at least I have 2 cents of something that maybe they don't know. They might have they might have the Harvard, the Yale, the Cornell degrees, but they don't have the experience and the practicality of life that I bring to the table as a wife, as a mother of 3 great children, and as a professional who is balancing my life. They don't have that. They will have it, and they can have it quicker if they embrace mentorship. So again, I'm saying all of this to tell us that as individuals, succession planning is something that's a two-way street. You don't need to wait for somebody to say, oh, can you do this? If you see some people in your space, in your life, that you believe that you can sow a seed in their lives to help them get where they're going faster and better, go for it. They will never forget you. They will never forget you. And again, I'm not saying go to everyone. Let your spirit decipher who you approach. Most of the time you will be approached. Most of the time I'm being approached. But a few times there are one or two people that I see that I know that with a little structure, with me sharing, I see me in them. I will go and offer to say, this is what I can do. And they've embraced it, because what you're saying is not, it's obvious. Whatever you can do is obvious. They can watch you, they can monitor what you've done and Google you. Thank God for Google. So they know you're not just all talk, that maybe there's some activities that backs up that talk. So if you're listening to me and you're not mentoring anyone, you need to do that. If you're not part of the Black CEO, you need to explore being part of that. That is one thing that has been designed for Black CEO, just like it sounds, to come together so that we can collaborate and do great work together locally and globally. And this is a huge network of professionals, of entrepreneurs, up and coming entrepreneurs who have taken their businesses to another level, but again, with an intentional effort of different leaders and teachers. I see it as a university, as a thought leaders forum whereby you can fit into something. And definitely Black CEO is one of those institutions, I want to call it, that you want to engage with, so that together as we build, we don't have to build alone. We don't have to build alone. We can build together. And as we build together, we accomplish more together. And it makes our lives much easier. And then we can make more impact and be that channel of sustainable work that we want to be. One, like we say at a Black CEO, 1 + 1 is cooperation. 1 and 1, which is 11, is collaboration. You can agree with me. 1 + 1 is 2. 1 and 1 is 11. That's greater. And my favorite book says it too. 1 will chase 1,000. 2 will chase 10,000. So this is what we're saying. Let's work together. Let's put our resources together. Let's engage one another and begin to see that this race of entrepreneurship, of business, of your career, you're not alone. There are people, there are shoulders who are waiting for you to lean on them. And clearly one of those shoulders will be the Black CEO. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for all those who have joined. I appreciate you very much. You have followed us for the past 3 weeks. Thank you so much. Thanks to Mr. Akinduro. Thanks to Janine. Thanks to Mr. Ganga, George, Titus, and all of you that I haven't mentioned. Thank you so much, and thanks for your feedback. We will be with you same time next week, 9 a.m. Thank you. Have a great weekend. Be the best version of you. Be authentic. Be authentic. There is nothing better than being your authentic self. And when you do that, you will clearly be that brand of individual that you want to be. Thank you so much for being part of this broadcast. See you same time next week. Bye-bye.